How you doing? Welcome into twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads. My name is Graham Day, and I'm joined by the man that we call Bibby. I'll read, Bib.
I'll read, Graham. How are we doing?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. It's toasty warm, as the entire UK is on fire. But, you know, this is what it is. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about video game news.
Got my fan behind me today.
What, Joseph, on the wall?
Rather than, I mean, yeah, he's my number one fan, but I've got my actual fan behind me because usually I have it to the side here, but it gets dead sweaty in here, so I'm having it just to literally blast my back, just to try and keep it as well, at least moist as possible.
Same.
Because it's very moist.
Same. Do you know that GT Mega Zio chair that you've got? Exclamation mark GT Mega in the chat, by the way, if you want to see a little bit more about their stuff. Anyway, we are partners with them. You can use our code Ice Cream and save yourself, actually code ICU to save yourself some money on all GT Mega products purchases. But anyway, that chair in particular has a mesh back, so
it does.
Yeah, it passes through.
It's a treat.
It's nice. Anyway, that wasn't supposed to be a baked-in ad, even though it turned into one. How you doing? Anyway, if you are watching this or listening to this on one of the podcast services, this is a slightly different format. If you used to listen to the show, you'll hear us start off and we'll talk for a good 5-10 minutes just about where we are in the week, what we're up to in life, what video games and stuff we've been playing. That stuff now sits in the pre-show because obviously sometimes our shows can overrun and they can take a little bit of length. That's what she said. But we're trying to keep that stuff out so we can be a little bit more concise with that. So if you do want to hear any of that sort of stuff, it will be available on Twitch. You will be able to see all that stuff on Twitch. But for now, the videos on YouTube and the audio podcast across all the platforms will be a little bit more concise because we're making sure it's laser focused so we can get into the news pretty quickly. And on that note, hi, my name is Graham. This is Bib. We are Ice Cream Uploads, and in true Ice Creamy fashion, this is The Scoop, the UK's #1 video game podcast. If we do say so ourselves, we are live on twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads. I almost forgot what our URL was. That was fucking great. Let's go. Twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads, where we go live each and every single weekday, bringing you the biggest, the best, and the breaking stories from the world of video games. We'll give you our thoughts and impressions, but we want to hear your thoughts and impressions, and then your thoughts and impressions on our thoughts and impressions. That's kind of how the whole thing works. If you've never been here before, please do feel free to sit down, grab yourself a seat, get comfy, and get involved because the live stream is turned into a podcast, a video on YouTube, and an audio podcast that goes on iTunes and Spotify and Amazon Music and Google Play. Lots of places where over 200,000 people have watched and listened to this podcast on demand. So please do feel free to get involved on behalf of all of those people. And speaking of all of those people, did you know that all of them have a chance to win some prizes? Because every month we give away a prize. This month it was one of these beautiful hats. It was given away to the Wobbly Gamer. And all he did was just support the channel with one sub. Anyone that subs to the channel helps keeps the lights and mics on for us. And because we appreciate that, we give something back every month. This month it was one of the brand new Ice Cream Uploads cream baseball caps. And we gave one to the Wobbly Gamer who won that. If you want to be a next month's loot drop, just be a sub on the first Monday of the month. Let's go, baby.
Let's go.
Now we'll jump into the split screen. I'll read, Pip.
Hi, Graham. My voice is starting to go.
So I love you. Would you like to talk about a little bit of video game news?
I'll let you do the talking, Graham, and I will give you my thoughts and opinions.
Goddamn right. Well, we have 4 stories to go through today. It's Friday, so for the long-time viewers and listeners to the show, we will end up with Free Game Friday. We'll tell you what games you can bag free going into the weekend. We'll finish the show with that, but before that, we'll kick off talking about Starfield, which has had the biggest Xbox Game Studios launch ever. So that's where we're going to kick things off. We'll then talk about EA doubling down on massive online communities, and E3 is dead again, but properly dead. But you know what? We'll take you through it all. But for now, Starfield. Bib, have you played it yet?
Yes, I managed to play like half an hour of it before I had to leave the house. So yes, I've got up to the bit where you just start flying in space. Like I know it's right at the beginning and you first get into your ship, but my character's been created. I've done my control bindings and stuff. I am well on my way to being a space marine.
Starman.
Yeah.
Nice.
Are they called constellations? Is that what they're called? The space marines. I'm sure that's the name for them. But
constellation is like is that that constellation is the like Microsoft is the company. Is Constellation the company? That's where I mean, I could be wrong. That's where I read it as. I've not actually played it myself. I've had it installed for a week, but still haven't played it because that's Graham Day. That's who I am. That's what I do. I get the biggest, the best, and the breaking games, install them, and then play PUBG. Do you know, before we go, that should be to the article. Starfield appears to have had the biggest Xbox Game Studios launch day yet. This is written by Chris Scullion at VGC. It says the game has been played by over 6 million players in its first 24 hours. So Starfield appears to have broken Microsoft's record for the biggest launch day for an Xbox Game Studios title. When the game was released on Wednesday, Xbox boss... Oh, he nails it. It just rolls off the tongue now. It's like
so good.
He never had a problem saying those words. Let's go, baby. Xbox. Do you know what? It'll be one of those things. We'll look back on the channel and it's like, who remembers Xbox box? Like, who remembers that? Like, that's going to be one of the OG sayings where everyone will be like, anyone can say Xbox boss now. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, sorry, I'll start that paragraph again. When the game was released on Wednesday, Xbox boss Phil Spencer said it had exceeded 1 million concurrent players across all platforms, but it wasn't clear how many unique users had played Starfield. This has now been revealed in a tweet by the official Starfield account, which claims that over 6 million people had played the game by the end of its first official day of release. Quote, as of this morning, Starfield has already surpassed 6 million players, making it the biggest Bethesda game launch of all time, it read. Although Xbox hasn't yet said so, it appears that this also makes it the biggest day one launch for any Xbox Game Studios title, which incorporates Bethesda's titles too. The previous biggest launch was Forza Horizon 5, which was released in November 2021. At the time, Spencer said the game had achieved 4.5 million players so far across PC, cloud, and console, and that it was the largest launch day for an Xbox Game Studios game, XGS. Assuming nothing has surpassed this since then, Bethesda's claim of 6 million players after one day appears to suggest Starfield is the new record holder. It remains to be seen whether Starfield will surpass Forza Horizon's 5 record of 10 million players in its first week, an achievement declared the biggest first week in Xbox history. It's available on Xbox consoles, PC, blah, blah, you get the idea. We'll leave the article there. But Starfield appears to have had the biggest launch in Xbox history. Baby,
tell me why.
Thank you for that. I mean, if I'm going to go on record, which I am, because we're creating podcast out the back of it, and say, am I surprised? I don't think I am. I mean, they've got some fierce competition with the likes of Halo Infinite. Not making any Gears of War games anymore anytime soon. Forza Horizon is just Forza Horizon. I don't think it blends into the total landscape of video games anymore. The only people who are really playing that are probably car and racing enthusiasts. It's very, well, I'm going to say it's very rare that you're going to get the general consumer going out and playing it. Maybe, obviously, if it's on Game Pass, they're going to have the opportunity to be able to try it out. Whether or not they end up staying and continuing with the campaign on that game, I'm not too sure. But the amount of failures that Xbox have had in the very recent past with the likes of Redfall, this game has been being, I think it was, I saw the letter that got put out with the people who obviously ended up pre-ordering the game, or the people who are reviewing the game, and I think the inception for the idea came out in 2013, so this is 10 years in the making, essentially, and for the last, what feels like 4 or 5 years, we've been keeping a very keen eye as to what this game could potentially end up being. Now, there are a couple of types of people out there in the video game landscape when it comes down to playing video games, watching video games, or just general consumption of video games, whether that be watching someone play it, playing it yourself, or just taking people's thoughts and opinions off of that and then making your own off of it. Now, for those people that have played Bethesda games before, and I know this is obviously going to be something that is very, very new to you in the way that you end up playing, the way that you generally consume video games, but Bethesda games by nature, if you've been around a long time, on release usually really janky. You see a lot of glitches. You see a world that could potentially have a lot of voids in it, which obviously doesn't make the experience great. However, that being said, it does appear that Bethesda have kind of knocked this one out the park in terms of what you'd come to expect from a Bethesda game. That doesn't mean to say that there isn't glitches. That doesn't mean to say that there's weird shit going on in the game. It doesn't mean to say that the game isn't crashing. I just mean it seems a hell of a lot less than what we have had in the very recent past. So I am super stoked about this. I mean, running joke, obviously Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls is top 3 franchises for me of all time. Absolutely adore them. Understatement of the year. So me being a fan of those games, including Fallout, this is, for me, is an absolute no-brainer. I will be sinking more hours into this than probably most people who have already completed the game. Like, this will be my next 5 years game. I'll complete it probably 7 or 8 times. I just haven't got the time to be able to go in and do that and get my own thoughts and opinions on this game now. Whereas for someone like you, this is a brand new experience, not just because it's space travel I mean, you've never played Mass Effect either, so it's like, I'm not saying it's exactly like that, but in terms of a genre, I imagine it's going to be quite similar, just with a lot of Bethesda style off of the back of it. So I am more looking forward to hearing what you have to say about this game as and when you come and be able to play it, because I know that people around me who have played Elder Scrolls games for the longest time I know what their thoughts and opinions are going to be on this game before they even play 20 hours of it. So for someone like you who's never played a Bethesda game, or at least not just scratched the surface, you going proper deep into it, I'm excited to see what you end up saying about this game, because this could be genuinely a one in a game, a game of a generation is what I'm looking for, and they don't come around all too often. But it appears
once every generation.
Bethesda, but Bethesda have done it again. Like, I know I make the case that Skyrim is a once in a generation, but there's a reason for that. The game is over 10 years old, and it's been remastered more times than I care to imagine, nearly as many times as Grand Theft Auto was. So, like, it's ridiculous. But again, in the grand scheme of things, to bring it all back to your point, I am not surprised that this is Xbox's biggest launch of all time. This is the reason why they bought, not just this game, but what Bethesda bring to the table is the reason why they bought them in the first place. No one, in my opinion, when it comes to games like this, no one can compete. You can look at Naughty Dog, you can look at everybody else, but those games are 10 to 16 hours long. However, this game, I believe that this is going to have so much more replayability than probably any Naughty Dog game that's ever been before. And there's probably loads that I can't think of at the top of my head, but you're looking at things like The Last of Us straight off of the bat, and you're looking at Uncharted as well. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, a few thoughts. One was like you said you was going to bring it all back, and then I was going to say, all right, settle down, S Club. Is joke for the old dads in there. Whee. The other things, before I get to your actual point, is Nietzsche dropped the It's a Smashing Weekend clip in the chat. That's you smashing the missus over the weekend. Nice.
Oh, fantastic.
P Honey clearly had the same reaction to me when you said the word consumption, but I was like, was it consumption? So Fonny said consumption. I was like, yeah, me too. And then the other one that made me chuckle as well was Drew saying, after seeing Bibby's quick feet, this top half just didn't do it for me anymore. The top half, no, just didn't do it. So
it's going to be an only foots later on. Don't worry about that, lads.
Tito says, I see a lot of shade thrown at this game because it's perceived as overhyped. Do you feel it's been overhyped? If so, who's been overhyping it? Big Hamish 88. He's the one. Everyone else has hyped it.
I don't think it has been overhyped.
No,
I think if anything, I'm not saying under the radar, because fucking hell, it can't be. But in terms of what this game is currently achieving and the trajectory that it's on, I don't think it's been overhyped. I think,
I feel it was hyped until Big Hamish, like last week, tweeted about it and then bought it within minutes. That's overhyping it. So it's his fault, honestly.
But he's putting his money where his mouth is. Do you know what I mean? I respect that.
No, for me, I don't feel it's been overhyped. I feel it has been sufficiently hyped. Don't get me wrong, like, you can let a game come out of nowhere and hopefully the game speaks for itself and people jump in and play it. But if you've got a game that's costing you billions to make, like the amount of detail that's in Starfield is extreme. I was drop some names now. Let's drop some names. I was at Gamescom and I was sat in the Bethesda business booth, and Todd Howard comes strolling over. A little bit of a chinwag, walks off again, you know. He didn't speak to me, though. He spoke to people near me, but still, I'll make it sound like I was... Yeah, just fine. Shh. Sorry, it's how you tell the story. It doesn't matter what the details are. It's fine. Anyway, that was only a few hours after having Big Philly Spencer just walk into the same room that I was in as well. I mean, the room was a massive conference hall, and he walked straight through it. But still, it's how you sell the story. Anyway, we sat chatting with people at Bethesda, and I was like, okay, give me your honest opinions. I know you work at Bethesda, but we go back a long way. Give me your honest opinions. This is not going anywhere. It's actually going right into the podcast. And the gist that I got was like the amount of detail is incredible. Like the fact that the distance a planet is away from its sun determines how hot that planet is, and that determines things like gravity and all the rest of the stuff, how much moisture is in how much vegetation and what kind of surfaces and what kind of terrain. But that's not done on a planet by planet basis. That's like dynamic stuff is making that stuff. What's the procedurally generated? That's it. But they've got that many procedures in. Having that many procedures on an actual like universe scale and it not fucking up is a phenomenal achievement. So for me, to get that scale of impact that the game has, it needs a lot of hype. You need to have what Starfield has had, which is 2 or 3 directs. We had 2 or 3 directs talking about the minutiae of Starfield before we got into the actual proper bump of what Starfield's main storyline is. That's because of how big and how deep it is. So for me, I don't feel it has been overhyped. I feel the game had the necessary hype. You compare that to what other games of its scale we've had in the last 5 years, and there is only one of those, and that was Cyberpunk, which, if that had stuck the landing, that wouldn't have been overhyped. That had shitloads of hype. It was riding the wave. We had fucking Keanu Reeves at E3 when that was still a thing. More on that later on. Like, doing the you're breathtaking stuff. It was fucking... We all high-fived each other. It was amazing. And then it shit the bed. So everyone was like, oh, fuck it, it's crap. Ooh, ooh, ooh. But Starfield hasn't shit the bed. It has, for all intents and purposes, stuck its landing. And it's not for everyone, and that is perfectly fine. A game that will take 80, 100, 200, 500 hours of your time, regardless of the content in it, is already going to be a game that's not for everyone. So it being...
My name is Optimus Prime.
Smiley, thank you for the primer. I appreciate that. Have we met before? Hey, I appreciate the prime. Thank you very much. But yeah, a game that already takes 500 hours out of your life is a game that's going to be divisive. It's going to be difficult for a game of that style to get a 10 out of 10 anyway, because reviewers are people. They aren't machines that just go, okay, this has ticked all the boxes from an Excel spreadsheet standpoint. It's emotive, and if you don't resonate with that, it will turn you off. So it's easier for me, in my opinion, for a game to get a 10 out of 10 if it's a 12 to 24 hour sort of game that has a contained story and that's it kind of thing. It's easier for that to be the complete picture. It's just a self-contained ball of perfection. This isn't a self-contained ball of perfection. This is a big, massive, sprawling and probably messy patch of perfection that just fucking goes on forever, and that's it. But sprawling, messy perfection is a bit of an oxymoron, but that is what this is. And I haven't played it. I have watched Wobbles for a few streams now playing it. I did tune in twice to watch Big Hamish play it. I've tried to watch larger streamers like Shrouds and so on who've been streaming it for the last few days and stuff as well, dropping in, and it's everyone is always doing something different. And that for me is quite daunting, but also quite exciting. So I want to play this game. The only reason I'm not playing this game is not because I'm not interested, is because I don't want to not give it its day in the sun. Nice Starfield space reference there. I want to make sure it has the time to be what it can be. And And I need to sit there for 5 hours. I said this the last time we spoke about it. Bibby will sit there and go, oh, that thing that's been recommended there, I probably need this because I'm going to need to stick it in my hold because I might need it later on for crafting or selling or whatever. Whereas I'm going to be like, it's a potato! And then walking away from it like, hey, take the potato. Get the fucking potato. I want to reference potatoes because potatoes are all over the fucking tweets that I keep seeing. And I don't understand what it's about. But still, that's the point. I don't know what it is. But I want to know what it is. So for me, Starfield has had the biggest launch yet because they've brute forced it into that position. They absolutely have by promoting it, overhyping it if you want to call it that. I wouldn't call it that, but overhyping it for 18 months, 24 months. It's had a sustained level of hype. But the game came out in early access on Friday last week. It only came out 2 days ago. That is a long enough time. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you get a weekend in there and you get Monday and Tuesday. We would have known by that Wednesday if it was a shit show. We had that pretty much with Cyberpunk. Within 5 days, it was taken off the PlayStation Store and all the rest. This hasn't. So it has been extremely hyped and has justified it. I mean, whether you feel it is, whether I feel it is or not, it has surpassed Xbox's biggest launch day ever by 33%. They got 4.5 million now. They're up to 6 on 1 day. So that, yeah, for me, it's justified, and it's not for everyone, and that's okay. So GG's to Bethesda, Starfield, Xbox, all the rest. All they need to do is move it to a good console, and we'll be happy.
Yes.
Okay. Let me jump back through the comments. 10 years is a generation? Question mark. Almost. I mean, the PS4 is still making games at this point in time, and that's got to be 10 years now. Was it 2013 that came out?
Yeah.
So almost, kind of. And they're getting longer, so very soon, probably. I've really struggled to stick with single-player games. Hogwarts, I can see it's a good, polished game, but stop playing it after an hour. See, that's the thing. I could play shitloads more of Hogwarts Legacy. I really enjoyed it. Even Bibi was saying, it actually makes me happy to hear that you're enjoying playing an RPG. And it's obviously, it's an RPG light, comparing that to something like a Starfield, because it's very storyline-centric. And you can do more after the storylines and so on, but really enjoyed it. I never finished it because I'm Graham Day and I'm addicted to PUBG. It is what it is. I want to finish it though, and I do want to finish it, and I will eventually finish that game. I will eventually play Starfield. It's not one of those I will try to. I definitely will play Starfield. I definitely will finish Hogwarts. So both great games. Starfield has hooked me from the start. Played 11 hours in 2 days, and I rarely play games for any more than 2 to 3 hour sessions. Because you're always watching me play games for 2 to 3 hour sessions.
I love that. Like you said, that you've gone into different people's streams, and they've all been doing something different. That is what Bethesda want you to be able to do. They want you to. I don't know of another way to be able to describe it, barring like how it's a life simulator, like. To be able to just literally here's a fucking galaxy at this moment in time to be able to go out and
Jerry
just
Milk's back, mate.
do whatever you want out there. Like I don't know of a better way to be able to describe it than that. Like you've got quite your main quest line that might take you 40 hours, but then you have side quests that will literally give you another 40, 50 hours on the side of it, but no two side quests are the same. There will be people who will be picking this game up and playing it for 2 years or whatever, whether or not they're doing New Game Plus or whatever, but they'll be finding side quests that they never found the first 5 times around, which is bizarre. But that's just the way these games are made. They're literally made to be like that. You go to a settlement and it's completely... The people there are completely different from the previous 10 settlements that you'd been to. Like, I love that kind of shit. That's my jam. Like, just being able to come home from work or whatever, and I've got a couple of hours at night and I just want to get lost into this universe or whatever it is that I'm playing in. And that literally is it. Like, I've got all my shit to be able to go and... I don't know the game well enough to be able to start saying, oh, they've got settlements, they've got buildings to be able to go in and get a load of loot and shit from dungeons and shit, but I don't think that is the case, but you get the point. You're stocked up enough to be able to go and spend 2 or 3 hours real world time to go and explore. That's essentially it.
The thing for me is like you'll see a new game releases and there'll be something that some channel out there will post out don't know whether you guys knew this, but and then it'll be like a fuck me sort of moment kind of thing. You're like, oh, that's really cool. I didn't even know that was in the game, and everyone will go, ah. But you might get 2 or 3 of those for a game. That's kind of the same thing that I keep seeing all the time, and some of them are like the fuck me moments are probably so small because it's, how can I describe it? That they're incidental in the game, but there's just so many of them. Like, talking about potatoes, the reason I mentioned potatoes earlier on, you've probably seen it. Xbox has shared it now, but some guy's got a potato in his hand, and I don't know whether that's for crafting or you sell it or whatever, or whether you can just collect them and stick them in your storage. But this guy goes and then opens a big vault door. The door kind of like slides to the side, and then like literally potatoes just fall out of this vault, and it's just like,
I've got context for you with that. So that's to show the physics engine.
Oh, I was going to say I didn't want the context, but now you ruined it. Now I'm just thinking.
No, because I will tell you why. It's not a spoiler or anything like that. It's because in Skyrim, there was a thing where people would collect hundreds of thousands of pieces of cheese, go to the top of a hill, and just drop all, and then see the cheese going down the hill. So they wanted to try and replicate that in Starfield.
Oh, I didn't even need the content. I just wanted to know that someone out there was collecting space potatoes.
Yeah, but that's the reason why, because people are fucking weird and they love doing that kind of
but
stuff.
That's like seeing how cool it was and how the fucking door opened with it and all the individual spuds rolled out, and you think, oh, that looks fucking badass. Pointless split-second moment, but it looked badass. And I saw one either this morning or last night, and it was like I set off into space and just basically did the space equivalent of putting your foot on the gas. And the spaceship, rather than going like, not to a bajillion, was like still trundling along, going really slow. Like, and they're like, what the fuck, has my ship got heavy or something? Turn around and there was a fucking dinosaur in the ship. So when you leave your space, like your ship unattended on a planet, things can climb in and climb on and attach themselves to your spaceship.
Amazing.
So there's the big dinosaur in the cargo hold that they had to then kill and fucking get rid of. But it's just little things like that. He's like, what the fuck? That doesn't need to be there, but he's just fucking is awesome. So yeah, I want to play this game. We spent quite a bit of time on this, so we'll start to move on. I'll finish up going through the comments first though. But where does it go from here then? Because one thing that I'd never properly fully understood. 12. Thank you for 13 months. Were you the one that's just done the hello motherfucker? Because if you were, then what were you saying?
I don't understand 12 either.
One thing I don't understand is 12.
Great timing on your part. Nice.
Unintentional, but Freudian slip. There you go. Yeah, one thing I didn't fully understand, and I thought the game was single player. I know it is now, but I clearly didn't fully understand that because fuck this shit, I'm out. No chance. So yeah, I thought it was a single player game, but I clearly wasn't 100% on that because I watched Wobbles play and then I heard Bowser's voice and I was like, are you playing multiplayer? And he's like, no, it's only single player. We're just both playing and just chatting at the same time. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I get that now. Okay.
Space is lonely.
Exactly. But that's the question then. The question is, okay, this game's phenomenal and there's going to be more and more content coming to it. Do you see Starfield Online down the road, or do you see private servers and stuff? We got it with Fallout. We got Fallout getting private server expansions. Do we see that sort of stuff coming in the next 6, 12, 18 months? Thoughts, babe?
No, because the private stuff was for Fallout 76, which was based on an MMO. People have been able to mod Skyrim so you can go on quests together and stuff like that, but they are like third-party ones. Like the Bethesda would never allow that if it wasn't like some sort of tacked-on mod. They'd never allow you to be able to do it. So it essentially why they made ESO so that you were able to go out and party and stuff like that. I can't see this ever being something where they will allow you to team up and go on quests and stuff. These games are, I don't want to say story driven because there's a lot of people who play these types of Bethesda games that will never pay attention to the story. And they would just click through, don't read it all, because a lot of the dialogue sometimes it is a little bit tedious. So you're probably not reading it, you're just making sure that you're answering the questions correctly enough to be able to progress that particular quest line. No, I don't think, in my opinion, they will make this game multiplayer. I believe that it would be an absolute goldmine if they did, but I think they'll take the method of what they've done beforehand. If they really, really wanted to, they would make a completely separate game. Skyrim Online or not Skyrim Online. I've got it on the brain. Starfield Online or something. But it won't be anything it won't be affiliated with this version of the game. They will make something completely different, and maybe in a different timeline or something like that. I don't know. Again, I've not finished the game to have any kind of well-rounded thoughts of how they could do it. But just off of the basis of what I've experienced with older Bethesda games, nah, they ain't having that. They'll find a way of being able to capitalize and make money elsewhere away from mainline story games.
I reckon so too. GTA Online came with GTA 5 off the back of GTA 5, but then became its own thing. And I think if Starfield was to do that, you'd get a separate game rather than an expansion to this game, which then lives on. If you've got a universe that big, it would be, in my opinion, foolish to not try and get people to plug into that. Like, you've seen the success that GTA Online has had. Starfield Online is surely that's something that Bethesda, if they're not looking at doing it, it's something that they have looked at and done, because it kind of makes sense, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they need to see whether or not the game has staying power. I think that's the next thing that they need to look at. I don't know if they're going to release any DLC for it. I can't remember if they've confirmed that will ever be the case. It wouldn't surprise me if they did have some sort of DLC with new quest paths on there.
Actually, there is, and we both have it because we've got premium edition of the game, so we will get the DLC. There's at least one announced, and that's the one that we get with it. I don't know if there's any more after that. I don't know. If anyone does know, please do feel free to throw it in the chat. Speaking of which, I'm going to catch up now. So Tito says, that's my view. I don't believe it has been. He believes that it hasn't been overhyped. He did say... I've lost it. It was something like he's played 20 hours or something. I can't find the exact comment. That's why my scroll keeps going past that one. There you go. I think there was a huge expectation. In case you hadn't noticed, I'm a huge Xbox fanboy, and I'll be honest, I wasn't hyped. I was scared, bordering on Last Chance Saloon. That's Tito talking about it pre-release, which makes sense. I was so hyped for this game, hasn't disappointed yet, says P. Honey. I feel like I've not been playing it that long, but I'm 20-odd hours in. That's the comment that I thought. I thought Tito had said it, but Tito was talking about he's played 11 hours in 2 days, which is unusual for him. So yeah, wonderful. I personally have seen 2 bugs: teleporting of Sarah and spawning in Sarah. Sarah's just a superhero. Just get over it, for it. Confirmed. No bugs there. Just its intentions, its feature. Nice. I do think non-Bethesda game fans might struggle as some elements are less than intuitive. Sarah needs to be ejected into the black hole or the nearest sun. Sarah will die before the end of my playthrough. She will have an accident, says Phone. Yes, I was worried of spoilers. I genuinely think it's so open you don't get spoilers. I got involved in a fight after accidentally shooting someone. She refused to fight and help me because she disagreed with cold-blooded murder. So judgmental. God. She's almost bad as a #1 fan. Exactly. I had one mission. In order to complete the mission, I could pay off a debt, sneak into a room and change the debt, or finish a task and clear out an area. 3 options for a side quest. Nice. Just finished that one. There is Bibby. There's a secret scene I'm going hunting for after work that pays out a large number of credits. There you go.
That's what I mean. Like, there's as you were reading that, then the 4 or 5 people that have been playing it, like, they've all got different playthroughs. Like, honestly, when it comes to playing games like this, I don't think no one does it better than Bethesda. Nobody does it better than Bethesda in these open world games. Again, janky on release, but my God, it's going to be a behemoth. This I can see this eclipsing Skyrim as one of their most profitable IPs. I know the Elder Scrolls as a collective is the IP, but in terms of a game that they can carry on churning out and people keep on lapping it up, I think this is the next. I think this is the next one on their radar, 100%.
Where do we get to? You've got it in my head, and I've set it away to download. What's Starfield? Nice. Or was that something else? I actually heard the Kind of Funny guys. I was listening to their podcast driving to work, as I often do. I heard them talking about it and choosing different people to go out on missions with them. So you can choose to take AI characters with you, and talking about being judgy. If you do bad things, they'll go, "Oh, I don't like the fact that you've stolen from that or murdered someone or whatever." And you could take a robot, which is just like having a dog. He doesn't judge you because he's a robot. He doesn't have emotions. So, like, hearing that shit, just hearing people just going, "Do you know what? Fuck it. I don't want you griefing me. I'm just going to take a robot because he doesn't judge me. So that changes the whole playthrough. It's the exact same thing, but the narrative around it just sets the scene and the emotion of which you feel that game, and that's the big thing. So, yeah, people that don't put that many hours in, or the people that don't have conversations with other people that are putting those hours in, probably aren't getting those nuances that is literally your playthrough. You're not playing the game that everyone else is. You're playing your game, and you're the only person that will be playing that game in that sort of way, which is a phenomenal thing. 13 moths, says 12. Thank you for the 13 moths, 12. Hello, motherfucker. Hello. I agree with Bibby. The potential for ships with multiplayer would be fun. Pilot, weapons, repairs. You could have a fleet of Tory names, Tito. HMS Boris. I'm starting it Sunday. Nice. I may eventually start it as well at some point, possibly, maybe sometime soon, probably-ish. We'll see. So yeah, Starfield has had the biggest launch day in Xbox history. Or so we assume. That's looking at the maths. The last confirmed... I've just got rid of the wrong thing. The last confirmed maths was around Forza Horizon 5, which had 4.5 million players on launch day. This had 6 million players by launch day, so big things. Anyway, moving ahead, our next bit of news, this is from Tom Ivan at VGC. It says, EA is going to double down on a handful of massive online communities. Quote, the tagline, actually, it will invest disproportionately in the likes of EA Sports FC, Apex Legends, The Sims, and Battlefield. So the article... Electronic Arts plans to significantly increase its focus on a handful of its biggest online franchises over the coming years. The company will invest disproportionately in the likes of EA Sports FC, Apex Legends, and The Sims. Quote, massive online communities, end quote, in which CEO Andrew Wilson sees the potential for exponential growth. Speaking at the Goldman Sachs Communicopia and Technology Conference on Wednesday, what a name, Wilson said the value of companies like EA has typically been forecast based on their release slate for the next 5 years. Quote, I don't think that's gone, but I don't think it's nearly as important as it once was, Wilson said. I think if you fast forward 10 years, there's probably going to be, 2 dozen of these massive online communities. They're 100 or 200 million plus communities, and there can only be so many, end quote. Wilson mentioned Activision's Call of Duty and Take-Two's Grand Theft Auto in the same breath as EA's leading properties. Fortnite would be another example of what he referred to as IP as a platform. The FIFA franchise, soon to be EA Sports FC, has a network of 150 to 200 million people engaging daily for 90 minutes at a time, moving backwards and forwards in these little automatic units. Apex Legends has about 175 to 200 million players and 70% retention, he said. As you look at us and our company, what you're going to see from us is really double down and reallocate investment towards these 5 or 6 massive global online communities that we have the benefit of growing, said Wilson. We are very blessed that we have FC, we have Madden, we have Battlefield, we have The Sims, we have Apex, and we're building out Skate, and so we're going to disproportionately invest in IP as a platform and really creating the new world that is the flywheel of engagement. Quote, 50 years ago, it was about cruise lines and hotels. Today, it's about play, watch, create, connect around these massive online communities in the context of these extraordinary IPs, end quote. Actually, I'm going to go to the next bit because that kind of leads in. Wilson said EA's brands have the potential to spawn universes and ecosystems similar to those of Star Wars and Marvel. That's what I'm going to stop on. So Andrew Wilson, was it? I'm going to assume it's Andrew. I can't actually find his name. Andrew Wilson says that EA is going to invest disproportionately in some of its titles because it doesn't believe that games are just going to be games anymore. Games are going to be... what was the phrase that he used? I'll go with the word systems. I'll look for it in a second. But basically, they're going to be their own big systems. We're going to have Call of Duty Online, where you can do multiple different things, play mini games within it. You've got Fortnite, where you've got customs modes, you've got world creators, you've got other brands, you've got gigs and live events and stuff in there. We're going to see that, from the sounds of this, from a bunch of EA titles. FIFA is not just going to be about the gameplay and the season pass. There is going to be more in there that's about keeping you in that. Essentially, FIFA, Madden, Battlefield, Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto, these games are going to be completely replacing TV, radio, music players that stand alone, like Spotify, maybe even content like YouTube's and Twitch's. We're going to get that all within the games themselves, if this is anything to go by. What are your thoughts on that, Bib?
Tell me why.
I don't really know, because I feel like if it was that easy, they probably would have done it by now. Like, the biggest example I can think of that has all of these kind of things already in it is obviously Fortnite, but taking it to the next level was NBA 2K. Like, having the city or the neighborhood in there, that is amazing. Like, being able to have your character, your basketballer, being able to go into a shop and being able to buy the latest Adidas tracksuit, which won't be there next week because it'll be replaced by a new Puma tracksuit or something like that, and then either go and play in 2, 3, 4, 5 on a court. Like, I love that stuff. Going around on your skateboard or your little go-kart that you can buy. Like, that is what I believe things like FIFA, like eFootball, like PGA 2K, like being able to have not just an open world, because it I know there's a lot of fatigue around open world stuff, but I believe in sports games it would work. Like, imagine, let me picture this. I'll do football. I was going to do golf, but it's such a niche for a lot of people who don't understand it or know the concept of golf as a whole. So we'll use football as the example. But imagine creating a pro clubs. Imagine what you can have with pro clubs now. You create your player. You can go and customize his clothing to whatever, as long as you're wearing the strip of the club that you represent. But you're around a city, and you can wear whatever clothes that you want, like in Volta, for instance. But as you're walking around the city, you have 7-a-side pitches, you have 5-a-side pitches with the lower nets, you have 11-a-side pitch, which you would then go on to do your pro club stuff, but it's a Sunday League pitch, and you have to, the further you go up and the longer you stay in the divisions, the more money you get and your club gets, so then you can build stands and stuff like that. Then you have the shopping centre down the road, and you're able to go in and buy some new clobber or whatever. Like, all that stuff appeals to me as, one, a football fan, and two, someone who likes playing those kind of life simulators mixed in alongside it. So having that the neighborhood mode, but then expanding it into the football universe, I think is a perfect fit with stuff like that. So it doesn't surprise me EA are potentially looking at it, because they will be looking over the fence at what 2K are doing and going, that is fucking mint. How do we do that on this? Because there's no FIFA Street anymore. That's been and gone. They've now made it a condensed game mode called Volta within FIFA itself. So you kind of getting 2 games for the price of one, albeit Volta doesn't quite have as much glitz and glamour as FIFA Street does, obviously because of the history that the IP has. So I'm all for it, but I believe if it was that easy, they'd have done it by now, because the city or the neighborhood has been in 2K now for 4 years.
I feel like they probably realize, like, that it's not that easy, but they've also not realized that it's what they should be doing. So even the fact that they've said that they're going to invest disproportionately, that's them going, shit, okay, this is a big area that we've just been releasing the same games year after year with short-term season pass investments and making hay while the sun shines, milking every single penny out of things as we know how. And that is great, but businesses need to evolve, and it seems like this is EA's sort of like, fuck, like epiphany, light bulb sort of moment kind of thing, and they've gone, yeah, we need to change shit around, because it's quite funny going down that example that he was talking about. Then, if that was true, we're in a world where you put your games on YouTube and your games sell a lot. YouTube can help make your game. Games are getting that big now that YouTube will soon be going to games and going, can you play our YouTube content within your games? Yeah. Because games will keep YouTube relevant. And it's obviously it's one of those sort of nobody can predict the future. It sounds stupid until it happens, sort of things. But it's very possible that we go down that way. That suddenly brands that were that games were going, can I feature Sprite in the game? And Sprite's going, no, we're part of the Coca-Cola group, mate. You can get to fuck. What is a Fortnite's 2 weeks, mate? I'm not, get away. Fortnite's and then now Sprite will be going, can we just, do you know your slurp things? Do you fancy getting some Sprite in there for just a couple of weeks or whatever? We'll pay you or everything that you want ever, kind of thing, because it's just the way things change, marketing avenues, moving with the world. And EA realised that these massive online communities, in their words, if that's the way people like to be together, online communities like GTA, people always flock to the same places, but then segregate. People always want to be in the same spaces, but doing their own things. They want to be part of the thing, but in their own sort of ways. And most games are those little things. But now we're in a world where GTA allows you to have this big space, but you can be your racers, or you can be your people that just run around with RPGs being dickheads, or you can be the people that go doing heists, or you can be the people that start RPing, and within RP, you can be whatever you want within that, multiple different subcategories. So this is a massive community online that is sustaining multiple micro communities within it. And yeah, like EA says, there's only enough people in the world that can only happen a bunch of times. So yeah, it is interesting for me as someone that works in the industry, seeing those comments that they are going to start to change that, because that doesn't just change how they sell and what they put on their covers. That changes the nature of all of their games entirely. It might not be VR and haptic suits, but that's Ready Player One. That's what that is. People that are engaged with millions of other people online almost at all times. Ready Player One. That's what that is. Just in a slightly different concept. And it makes sense if you take it in that sort of way. So yes, that is an article from Tom Ivan at VGC. EA says it's going to double down on a handful of massive online communities. The downside of that, as magical as that sounds, it does mean that if they're doubling down and they're going to invest disproportionately into these massive online communities, your niche, indie, small breakout games, they're not going to be coming from EA. And if they are, they're going to get tiny funding. And if they do break out and have a success, they're probably going to be absorbed into one of these communities. So it does lead you down to worrisome roads in terms of future creativity and new experiences. But people find a way. People always want new ways to be entertained. So even within these online communities, people find a way. Okay. One more article that we'll jump through before we jump into the Free Game Friday, but we'll go through this one pretty quickly because we're pretty much out of time now. And this is from Andy Robinson at VGC. Oh, VGC clean sweep almost today. Let's go, boys. E3 confirms no 2024 LA event with complete reinvention reportedly planned for 2025. So events company ReedPop, which was planning the 2023 show, has also parted ways. That, for me, is one of the most significant bits about this story, but we'll go ahead. So events company ReedPop has parted ways with E3 organizer the ESA following the last-minute cancellation of this year's event. Following earlier reports, the ESA has also confirmed it will not hold an E3 at the LA Convention Center next year, although it's claimed it has not outright cancelled the plans for a 2024 event. Excuse me. According to GamesIndustry.biz, the trade body is working on a complete reinvention of E3 for 2025. E3 was due to return for its first in-person show in 4 years this summer as part of a multi-year deal with PAX organizer ReedPop. However, after months of build-up and uncertainty, the show was cancelled in March. At the time, ReedPop claimed that it simply did not garner the sustained interest necessary to execute it in a way that would showcase the size, strength, and impact of our industry. In a new statement, ReedPop's Games events boss Kyle Marsden-Kish said, quote, "We have enjoyed our time working with the ESA and appreciate their commitment to the games industry as a whole. While we will not be involved with the future of E3, we look forward to seeing its evolution and where the ESA takes it." End quote. ESA President and CEO Stanley Pierre-Louis added, quote, "We appreciate ReedPop's partnership over the past 14 months and support their ongoing efforts to bring industry and fans together through their various events. While the reach of E3 remains unmatched in our industry," yeah, once upon a time, "we are continuing to explore how we can evolve it best to serve the video games industry and are evaluating every aspect of the event from format to location. We are committed to our role as conveyor for the industry and look forward to sharing news about E3 in the coming months. Then it says some stuff about Jeff Keighley and what was it? Aurora called it Summer White Dude Fest. There we go. Let's go. So Ubisoft Forward, Xbox Showcase, and all the rest. But for now, E3 is dead again. So E3 was supposed to be back this year, and then at the last minute it didn't happen. And the key thing for that, and the strange thing around all of this, was ReedPop were brought in. ReedPop are an events company that have had success with major events like PAX, and I believe they do NYCC, New York Comic Con things. Huge events, massively successful. So them coming in to take over from the ESA, because the ESA had ran E3, and they are basically a bunch of people that are self-contained, that have shitloads of money and almost had a captive audience, so just didn't really move with the times, because why did they need to? People are going to buy our shit anyway. People are coming to E3 anyway. They can't do their own E3 without us, but suddenly they can. And PlayStation stopped going, and they do their own PlayStation showcases, and PSXs, and Xbox do their own showcases, and they've got Ubisoft Forward and EA Play, and suddenly E3 means jack shit. But bringing ReedPop into that I genuinely thought that could be a smart move, because ReedPop have all of the contacts across films, TV, video games. They can pull this together. So that failing this year, I thought, okay, is that the ESA? Have they still got their fingers in too many pies? Are people still a bit worried about getting involved with the ESA, or are brands too just happy with their own side dishes? They don't need the main course of E3 anymore, because my side plate is stocked full enough as it is. And my gut instinct was it was the ESA that were the problem, but actually maybe it is ReedPop that is the problem. Not the problem, but maybe ReedPop can actively change things. If ReedPop can't get brands on board because they're already happy, why would the ESA pay for an events company to do an event that doesn't get Activision and Call of Duty, or Xbox and Call of Duty? It doesn't even get Xbox in the event. It gets it next door. It doesn't get EA into the event. If ReedPop can't turn that around, it doesn't surprise me that the ESA have cut that relationship there. But then again, I don't know. There's so many potential avenues from this. What are your thoughts, Mr. Bibb?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to say, because we are just taking the information that's given to us rather than knowing the internal discussions that had taken place. So to get a firm hand on this is, again, difficult to say the least. But there's a large part of me that I felt like we was having this conversation 3.5 years ago, and we said we think E3 just isn't going to come back. Like, they've fallen at too many hurdles when trying to get this back on the road again. And I just don't believe that there is a desire somewhere from whoever it is as a third party or someone internally cannot get this over the line for whatever reason, that I just don't believe that it's ever going to again. Again, crying shame. But times move on. If they didn't evolve with the right times, there is no loyalty in any kind of business, really. So as much as we have thanked them for their service and what they've given us for everything over the years, if you haven't evolved as a business, then you are, politely putting it, shit out of luck. And I don't believe that they have maybe the desire to want to be able to do something, or just bite their own tongues and just go, okay, it's going to cost us a shitload to get this back in again, but we can't just rely on our name anymore, because if you haven't done an event for 5 years, your event kind of isn't there anymore. Like, you need to start from scratch again. And I believe that there probably will be a lot of people that don't want to pay the prices that E3 want them to be able to pay to exhibit there, but they're just going to have to swallow it. I feel like the first one that they do, they're going to have to swallow a lot of costs to try and make sure that it gets over the line for the opportunity to be able to do it again. If they don't, it's shit or bust. And I feel like they've already busted, so they need to shit. It's essentially where we're going with this. So, yeah.
The interesting thing was they mentioned for the first time that I've noticed, 2025, it is being reinvented. Okay, we can't make 2024 happen. 2023 was a bust. 2024 is 9 months away, so it's too soon. Let's fully reinvent for 2025. We'll take a year off and come back stronger. It worked for NBA 2K. No, WWE 2K, so taking a year off in the video games calendar is a great thing for resetting. You can get everyone bought in well in advance. That makes sense. But like Bibby says, can they do that? Can they get people to actually buy into that? But the interesting thing was, that for the first time, them saying, we'll come back and see what we do different or where or something like that. So does that mean LA is potentially off the cards? Because the LA Convention Center is where it's always been. But the thing is, that's Los Angeles. Whilst that's glam and glitz, should I say? Glam and glitz. Oh, everyone wants to go to Los Angeles. Nice, yeah. And you get all of the highlight of being in California. You also get all the price that comes with being in California. And that's great for your Xbox. It's not. But they can afford that. They could stomach that. Same with EA and the rest, because they clearly knew it was expensive, because the Xbox angle was, okay, E3 is expensive as fuck. We own the Microsoft Center next door. We'll do our own actual legitimate E3 event, but in there. Whereas EA went, okay, we know how expensive this is, and the LA Convention Center costs are exorbitant, and ESA aren't doing anything to make sure we're protected from that. So we will just get a fucking parking lot across the street and literally build an event in a parking lot and build walls around it. It's cheaper than actually being in the convention center. So that's an interesting thing for me, is are they going, okay, whether you say feck Los Angeles in the LA Convention Center, it's nice and it's great and it's glam and it's glitz, but it's not working. How about we do what Europe does, and we go to a city that's not at the top of anyone's wish lists? Oh, if you can go anywhere in Europe, where are you going? You might get a Paris, you might get a Madrid, or other capitals like that, a Munich or a Dortmund maybe, but very few people are going. I'm going to Cologne in Germany, because it's quite an industrial city. There's not actually that much to do in Cologne outside the Köln Messe, the big place where it is. It's like the NEC of Cologne. And yeah, you go to Cologne for that. It's pretty cheap. The travel is really easy. There's a tube sort of system that's all free as part of your pass. The city is built in to the event. Like, they all know that people are there. The bars are there. There's nightlife and culture, and it's not too expensive. E3, on the other hand, expensive as fuck, and cost a bajillion quid for the entire world to get there, apart from the people that are in LA. It still costs a fucking fortune for people in America to get there, because it's that fucking big. Yeah. But the rest of the world has to foot the bill. And even just the other day, I saw, I can't remember his name, guy used to work for Eurogamer, and might even have worked for Reed Pop at one point in time. I'm pretty sure he works on WASD, the event in London, WASD, as some people call it. David Lilly, that's the one. He said something about, so is Gamescom going to be the new E3 then? Is that where it's all going to happen? Or at least for this year? Is that where all the bigger announcements and the focus is going to be? Well, that's great, because it's cheaper, it's easy to travel, and we get Kolsch, which is, for those that don't know, it's little glasses of beer that give you in 20 centilitre measures rather than half pints and pints of stuff. But even that, just talking it from a cultural standpoint, E3 versus Gamescom is cheaper, more accessible, and has more culture. It just shows you that there's multiple things that needs to be fixed from E3. And if the ESA are looking at moving the event, whilst I enjoyed my time in LA, don't get me wrong, I didn't pay for it. The business did. And not all businesses can afford to stomach that sort of thing. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that it's looking at moving. It's a shame that Reed Pop, because we've seen what they can do for events, it's a shame that they couldn't influence it. And it's also a shame that if they're taking a year off to reinvent, that they're not doing that with Reed Pop as well. It's a bit strange that they haven't. Well, but there you go. Maybe they've failed. Maybe they feel that Reed Pop have failed them rather than they've failed themselves, and Reed Pop just couldn't turn it around for them in a year. But yeah, we'll keep our finger on the pulse and let you know what happens with that. E3 will not be happening next year. It's a shame. Only confirmed yesterday, but it is what it is. We will let you know what happens in place of that. I am very, very surprised that we didn't get Jeff Keighley posting out some sort of, but Summer White Dude Fest will be happening next year instead, which will be written by me and directed by me and hosted by me and all. So here's a trailer that I personally edited and stuff like that. But, maybe we did. Maybe I just missed it. There you go. Anyway, okay, final story of the day. We'll move on from that one. This one, actually, I'm going to stop for a second, because if you look at the right-hand side of this story, this is from Morgan Park and the team at PC Gamer. The side story, jumping back to Starfield, I know we spoke about it for like 40 minutes, but Bethesda says most of Starfield's 1,000 plus planets are dull on purpose because, quote, when astronauts went to the moon, there was nothing there, but they certainly weren't bored. How fucking cool is that? Some planets are going to be dull as fuck. That's the point. Fucking, do you know what? Fair play. I've got a lot of time for that message. GG's. Anyway, that's not what we're actually on this article for, though. What we were here for is the Epic Game Store's freebies of the week. So this is what's free until September the 14th. Spelldrifter. The articles... Oh, Friday! Thank you, P. Honey. The articles are always written with a bit of character, as I say every week, so this one will go through it. This week's Epic freebie is a mashup of favourites, down to its key art featuring a guy who looks like Geralt of Rivia after he's killed and looted a full raid's worth of vanilla World of Warcraft players. Spelldrifter blends turn-based tactics RPG with CCG customization. Your hero's abilities from your handmade decks cost ticks of time on the timeline they share with enemies, requiring an attention to time management in your tactics. So if you fancy an RPG crossed with CCG time management game, then Spelldrifter is free right now and will be free until about 4 p.m. UK time, September the 14th. The games do update every week, and next week's game will be 911 Operator. But for now, Spelldrifter. Get it in your Epic Games library, babe.
Get it in. Get it in.
Don't cost you a penny. Don't cost you a penny. We don't get paid a penny for saying that as well. We just like to tell you what's free because, free stuff's good stuff. And tell you what's good stuff, the scoop. But that's it for now. We are going to finish. Thank you, everyone that did drop in. We appreciate if you came in for the pre-show. From now on, we'll run in, have the pre-show, and then we'll jump in with the scoop as we have done. If you are listening to the scoop on the podcast services and you didn't hear the pre-show, then you can catch that on Twitch. We will go live at 10 a.m. ish each and every single weekday, so you can jump in and find us for the pre-show before we get into the full show, which will be then rolled out across all podcast services. We are going to disappear tonight, though. Are you back in a few hours, babe?
Yes, I just need to make sure that obviously the bar is all sound and that before I go ahead and do anything. So I don't know what time it's going to be, but I will be. So obviously the best way to be able to do that is to follow us on all our social medias, but I'll get into that in a moment.
Yeah. Also, if you follow us on Twitch, you get notified whenever Bibby goes live. I will be live tomorrow morning, 10-ish. I'm probably going to be closer to actually 10 as well, because I need to be off by 2-ish. I've got a wedding tomorrow evening do, and I need to get this big old barnet chopped, so I'm going to be off by about 2-ish. So if I want to get a good stream in, I need to be live at 10-ish. So yeah, do feel free to join us from 10 tomorrow morning, 8-ish tonight. Like I said, best way to get notified is follow us on Twitch. You do get notified whenever we go live. But before any of that happens, Mr. Bibb, what else would you like to add?
So thank you very much for joining us for our 2 episodes of The Scoop this week. We very much thank you for that. So if you want to help shape any of the remaining the start of the shows and the continuous episodes next week, there is 2 ways you could do so. First of all, find us on social media. It is at Ice Cream Worlds across all major social media platforms, or alternatively, get involved with our Discord. If you want to, if you're watching this on any of our on-demand services, or you're listening to this on any of our on-demand services, go into the description below. All the links that you require will be listed there. But all we need from you is a URL plus your thoughts and impressions. We will then give you our thoughts and impressions on the very next show, which will be at what time on Monday, Mr. Graham Day?
No idea, but contractually obliged to say 10 a.m. Ish. So yeah, 10 a.m. ish. Hopefully we will be live on Monday. Do feel free to join us for the next episode of The Scoop. But we'll see you tonight and tomorrow for some gaming fun times. Yeah. Stick around. We are going to drop a raid on one of our friends. I would have said Nacho because he's expecting one of these hats, but he's probably just about to finish up. So if anyone can confirm, please do feel free to let us know in the chat if Nacho is just about to jump off. If not, we'll jump on to someone else, maybe a Spidge or something. We'll see. We'll discuss. But have yourselves a good day. Until next time.
Stay frosty.